Bamfordrose and a new feature, Classified Chat. I hope you liked the intro sequence, and yes, all you outrun purists out there, it is now a red Aston instead of a red Ferrari. But hey, as we know, red Ferraris can turn into jailbait and are best avoided. Okay, so in this feature, what we're going to do is take a look at a model feature by feature, video by video. We're going to keep it Db9 this week, and as the weeks progress, release this format bi-weekly, and we'll go through all the Aston model range until we come back to the start and see what's happening on Db9 again. So we pick Auto Trader just to scan through the cars, and I've picked a selection of cars that are quite interesting. From previous videos that you've just seen, especially recently where we've been talking about used car sales and warranty, then you certainly know our opinion here, which is to either go the franchise dealer route and get the timeless warranty, or go complete generic independent reseller and get a really good warranty-wise certificate. And private is also worth considering if you're brave enough to transfer a large amount of money on the driveway and drive off in a car with zero after-sales care. But you can often bag a bargain that way, and if you took someone along to do a decent inspection in the car, then hopefully that mitigates some risks involved with that type of purchase. It's the brand specialist reseller that we advise to take caution on, because that can often be as expensive as franchise dealer, but without offering all the trimmings that you get from the complete package of the franchise deal with the timeless warranty. That's not the same for everyone. At the end of this clip, we've got a few cars from Nicholas Mee, who I think are a great outfit to buy from, got a really good reputation. So a quick refresh on Db9, came out in 04, 450 bhp V12 6 litre, and was automatic when it first came out, followed quickly with a manual, but the manual wasn't at original launch. The manual went for a little bit of a premium, and manuals are very rare. That model, that 450 04 Db9 model, ran all the way up to 08-09 when it turned into 470 bhp, and that coincided with the crossover from conventional key ignition barrel to the glass emotional control unit in the center console. There was some seat and dial improvements along the way, and then that model ran until 2013, when there was a significant facelift, carbon ceramic brakes, electronic adaptive damping. Essentially that 2013 Db9 is equivalent to what was the outgoing DBS dynamically, so it's a really, really good car. Virage shares that same platform as well. Virage is a really good car, often overlooked, and not rightly so in my opinion. It's a cracking model. There are a few special edition Db9s to finish off the range. There was, in the earlier 04 model, 450 bhp model, there was the Le Mans special edition. That was quite special at the time. There's been several special editions as the car reached its run out, which culminated in the Bond edition, which for the values that they're trading for, I really don't get. Much better to put your money in a DBS or another car, I think. But this personal opinion, if that Bond theme flicks your switch, then happy days. Around about 2016 and getting very close to the end, the center console changed from like the more analogy looking and feeling dials to the touch sensitive dash and the Austin Allegro style steering wheel, which is a complete fail in my opinion. It's a classic understated car, and the analog feel is more appropriate. I don't like personally the touch sensitive dashboard, prefer the dials, and I prefer a conventional round steering wheel. So we're going to start by looking Db9 at entry level. Just before I get onto that, because entry is probably going to be considered your 04 to 07 DB9 Auto Coupe, and there are lots and lots on the market, and there are some that are quite highly priced and some that look quite cheap, and it's all about condition, spec, mileage, service history, and it's going to be those variables along with more desirable interior, exterior colour combinations that are going to decide on market value. So I just want to start with this. A 2009 470 bhp DB9. This one caught my eye because it's got sports pack and it is low mileage, and again it comes from a generic independent seller, not an Aston brand specific seller. If you're going to start setting some price thresholds, then about 38–40k to get you into the 470 bhp DB9 is about right, and this car is at that threshold but looks to be nice low mileage and good condition. It's worth checking out the VIN number on the Aston system to see if it was originally built as a sports pack, because quite a few cars just have the sport pack wheels put on and then pretend to be a sport pack. And you've got a quicker ratio steering rack with sports pack. You've got thicker undersurface trays and sport pack dampers. The driving experience on the sport pack cars is definitely noticeable and worth it compared to a comfort spec car. So if this was an original sport pack, and considering the mileage and price, this is a good example. If you're looking for the DB9 with the 470 bhp motor that runs from about 09 up to 2013, then there are a few different specs available. We've just seen that car, which was sports pack. But if we look at the car that is advertised sports pack and look down here at the center console, that button there on this car is sport. An option that was available on this era DB9 was the ADS adaptive damping system, which on this 2010 car for sale elsewhere, we can see again this is a sport button, and this is a template car at 40k. Now it's another great car, but if we look at this 2011 car, this has got the option of the adaptive damping system. So it's well worth hunting out a DB9 with that option if you're after a DB9 of this era, because that really does make a difference to the handling. This is selectable soft, selectable stiff and adaptive at the same time, so each corner is independently having the damping levels changed. It really does offer much greater level of composure and comfort in the cabin. So we'll move on to this car. As I say, it's 2011 up at 46k. It's low mileage, it's well priced, priced to sell. It's got a good spec. Colour's white. I'm not sure about white cars. They show off the lines quite well, but might be white slightly cheaper in that they're finding a white car difficult to sell. Colour is very personal, so no one can comment that a particular colour is bad. It's whatever is personal preference. But it's got some nice wheels on this car, and it's well spec'd, low mileage. It's a really good price. I suppose it's just whether when you come to sell that car, how easy a white car will be to sell. So now we come on to one of the first DB9.2s. So this is carbon ceramic brakes, electronic adaptive suspension, the 510 bhp motor. As the years have evolved and Aston have played around with the original DB9 shape, you know, the DB9.2 has still got classic and understated about it, even though on this model it's a carbon special edition and it's trying to look quite shouty. But you know, you can't disagree, that's a beautiful looking car. And average mileage and sort of at the entry level price for that DB9.2. We've now got a DB9.2 at franchise dealer, so this is low mileage, 57k, which I think is a great price for this car, and it's in a wonderful colour. This is a truly stunning car. I think you'd be hard pressed to find an equivalent car in the independent world at that price, at that mileage, offering all the trimmings that you get from a purchase at franchise dealership. Now, as we increase in value, you can see there the graduations in price as you go through the model range. We get up now to the final flings of DB9, and this is where I'd question if it's worth putting this amount of money into this age of DB9, or there are other cars out there that won't depreciate as much, or maybe they're a special version and they're actually appreciating. I think they messed around with styling too much on this car. It's hardly been used. It's 8,500 miles, cracking spec, gorgeous looking car from a franchise dealer with a timeless warranty, and it's a piece of history. Never will a DB9 be in that condition as new for someone to buy and enjoy ever again. So if you wanted to get yourself into a DB9 and enjoy the car, then buying at the top end is an option. I mean, the newer cars, DB11, they just don't look like that classic DB9 anymore. So there is a lot to be said for buying at the top end of DB9 and enjoying it. And we now get on to the final throws of DB9, and this is where for me it starts to lose its appeal slightly. There we have the square steering wheel, the touch sensitive dash. For me, this just isn't what DB9 is about. It's a great car, don't get me wrong, it's just losing some of that analog appeal. This motor is the 565 bhp version that Vanquish had, that was detuned for DB9 to 510 bhp. It's just electronics that restrict performance down to 510, so it's very, very easy to remap the ECU up to Vanquish level. The chassis, brakes and setup of that 2013 DB9 that's electronically limited to 510 bhp is totally different drive, a more refined, a better handling drive than the previous DB9, which was from 09 to 2013 at 470 bhp. In reality, in terms of performance feel and the progression, there's not a lot of difference between those two engines when you drive the cars back to back. If you were to do a drag race up to 100 mile an hour and look at the difference in car's length between each one, there'd be very little difference. And in fact, when we modify the older 450 bhp or 470 bhp DB9 engines, we get those up to about, well, in the case of the 450, we can take it to 530, and in the case of the 470, we're at about 550, 560 bhp. They will outrun a 510 motor anyway. And now we're right at the end of DB9, which is the Bond Special Edition. For me, I just don't see the attraction in that. Obviously, Bond's heritage with Aston Martin is phenomenal, and it was the thing that put Aston on the map, really, back in the days of Sean Connery and the DB5. The Bond brand isn't what it was from those glory days, and I just wouldn't want to run around with Bond stickers on the side of my car, is all I'm saying. But it's all personal preference. If that's what flicks your switch, then fair enough. What I don't get about this car either is that fundamentally it's the same as the previous cars that we've just looked at, but has got some Bond touches to it, some sill plaques, get some ornaments. Be very expensive if you drunk that bottle. So that's a quick run through of DB9. Just to finish this off, there were some cars at Nicholas Me which caught my eye. So we've got a 2009 Dbs Valente. This is going for 85 grand, and DBS prices have held steady for years now, and if I was thinking about spending 85 grand, you know, certainly like this 2015 Db9 at 72 grand here, and this 2016 at 77 grand, I'd really be thinking about that DBS instead, because that car is appreciating where the Db9 is depreciating. And you know, it's DBS, that's a stunning looking car. Nice to see a good bit of colour art going on. I'm a fan of colour art over the plain vanilla cars. Obviously plain vanilla cars are good when it comes to reselling. And you might think that, okay, it's a 2009 car for 85k, where, you know, this car is 2016 at 76k. But the reason that this DBS is commanding a high price is that its mileage is quite low at 20,000. So this car is still going to have a newness feel to it. You know, it's not going to feel like you're jumping into an old car that's worn out. And also, it has got the analog interior, and I just think the conventional round steering wheel, the analog interior with a nice bit of colour art going on, that DBS cabin is actually a nicer place to sit in than this car, which they've tried to make contemporary, but as I've said earlier, the square steering wheel and the touch sensitive dash, I just don't think it fits that car. Nicholas Me have got quite a few DBS, and here is a carbon black edition. This is a phenomenal looking car, and I think all these DBS at this price point really do question going for Db9 at a high price point. You know, mileage is okay, a little bit higher than the other one. So, you know, it's the same price. It's got 10,000 more mile, but it's the carbon black. The DBS has got such presence when you see it on the road parked up. It's like no other Aston of this new era time. And in my opinion, it's one of the best cars that they made. Just to finish off, we're looking at a car at Nicholas Me, which I cannot believe hasn't sold. This has been up for sale with them for quite some time. Okay, it's 300k. But this is a piece of history. This is V12 Vantage Concept Car. You know, when I was in Prototype Workshop, I remember working on this car. This is a piece of history. This is the real deal. This is car number one. This is the prototype. This was used in engineering. It's a phenomenal spec, great looking car, and is a piece of history. I'd have thought that somewhere there'd be someone around the globe that just picks this up and helicopters it into their car collection somewhere. Really wish I had a spare 300k floating around, because I would be buying this car. I hope you liked our first run through of the classifieds, and come back and join us for our next classified chat. As always, really helps us if you can like, comment and subscribe.